Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo. We are live at SmileCon. And I am so excited. It's like an old friend of mine, and you've seen this guy. This guy is everywhere, but he is with Pearl, and I'm so excited about it. Mike, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
So, we were just talking earlier, and, it's funny, like, whenever people bring up AI, right? It seems like everyone has an AI tool.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say, hey, this is AI. I was like, no, it's not. You have someone, in another country adding in manually, right?
Right.
So let me, again, for those who don't understand what Pearl is, and again, if you've been living under a rock, welcome back to the world, and we're going to talk to you about Pearl. But, when you see all these AI companies and whatnot, give me one thing that separates you guys from all other AI companies. I can think of like a bunch of things, legal things, but I want you to tell us, what's the big difference?
That's a good question. There's lots of different kinds of AI.
Yeah.
The one that we really focus in is computer vision. And this really hits home when we think about how many x-rays we look at in this industry. And when you look at an x-ray, you're looking at black and white, different hues of black and white and gray. And there's a lot to be left up for human interpretation. And so especially with x-rays and how artificial intelligence can play in here is the ability to really differentiate and distinguish, between 500 to 700 different shades and tones of gray, which becomes so important, especially when you're diagnosing disease. You don't want to leave anything up for human interpretation.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that everything is caught, and not only caught, but caught very early on to be able to avoid, the progression of the disease in the mouth and be able to catch it very early on.
I think you brought up something that is so important there, right? Because a lot of times dentists are thinking, okay, whenever you see some new technology, naturally the old school dentists, they want to kind of brush back a little bit, right? And then, when you think about AI and using what Pearl offers to, let's be honest, like diagnose better, some dentists may say, well, you know what? I've trusted these two eyes for so long. And what's this computer? I don't trust this computer, I just watched the creator and I don't trust this AI, right? Like they say, what do you say to those docs who say that?
It's a great point. And sometimes we do hear that. Sometimes you hear people who are so, not set in their ways, but they've been doing things for so long a certain way. And I would really say, or really kind of, prompt them to look at it a little bit differently. It's not necessarily what you think is better or what you prefer, but now it's all about what the patient prefers. So the best example here is there's a lot of technology that has come out since the time that airplanes first took to the sky, right? And Glenn, I could tell you that I could set you up with the best pilot in the world. Yeah. Okay, I'll set you up with the best pilot in the world. He's going to fly you on your next vacation from the States over to Europe. But here's the thing. Like, if you look at the plane, there's no instruments. There's no instruments because he doesn't need them. He can fly by sight, right? So he doesn't need those instruments. He can fly by sight. He's the best pilot in the world. Would you take that flight? And probably not. No. If I said, look, you can take this plane right here, it has no instruments, or you can have the state-of-the-art, latest cutting technology with all the navigational tools and everything, and even if it's a novice pilot, I would still prefer to take that plane because, and again, we're in the day and age now, this information, age where patients, they want to know what is my dentist, what is my, healthcare provider utilizing as far as like cutting edge technology. And that's really where I would say, it's not necessarily about what you think or you prefer, but it's now, we get so many people that will reach out to us on our landing pages, not necessarily wanting to, yes, a lot of dentists wanting to, but we have patients reaching out to us. Patients reaching out to us saying, hey, can you tell me where a dentist in my area that uses AI, because I want to go to them, right? They want that technology to ensure that they're getting the best care available.
Well, you just opened a big bag there.
Oh, yeah.
You just opened a huge bag there. And so my follow-up question to that is, what are you guys doing with those leads?
With the patient?
Yeah, with the patient calls in. I mean, you don't look up and say, Dr. Stanley in Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to Dr. Stanley. He's an MB2 doc as well. But do you guys send that?
So
and if not,
depending on the
I'm just throwing
Yeah.
out an idea. Just throwing out an idea.
That's a
might
great
might be helpful to have like a list of providers. I don't know,
Hey.
maybe.
Yep.
Is that something you could bring it to the
depending
brass?
on and I think that we know that we're only scratching the surface with
Sure.
with AI and what we can do there, and really even our product roadmap. Opportunistically, we can look at what dentists are available in that area, and who knows, maybe down the road you'll see a whole new feature set capabilities of sending leads over to
the
our
marketing
our
set.
providers.
The marketing set. Well, and I'm glad you used that analogy, because again, a lot of times dentists are like, new technology. Oh, I like taking impressions the normal way, and now there's scanners. You see all these scanner companies here.
Oh, yeah.
Now I would never go back. But now I want to look at it from a different point of view, and you kind of understand this. You've been in the industry for a long time. Dentists sometimes feel like everyone is selling them something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got a PMS. You got a reminder service. You got the phone. You needed something for the reviews. You need someone to do some marketing. You need this. It seems like everyone's coming with that their hat, and they're like, here you go. They're passing the hat to you. And so for the doctors, they're thinking, well, I got to pay for this too.
Yeah.
What do you say to those doctors?
I say, and this is something that I've heard one of our good friends say this all the time. That says, if it makes you money, it costs you nothing. Think about that. If it makes you money, it costs you nothing. We will see more and more technology, and we should see more and more technology become available, because as technology advances, everything is focused around how do we improve the overall efficiency and production and the standard of care in the practices. So we will see new technology, and and as it comes available, it really comes down to, okay, what this is offering, what will be my ROI? What will be my outcome? Now, for me, what really caught my eyes with Pearl is the fact that there was a new capability with this technology that prior to this was not available, which is we talk about analytics. Analytics are important, and knowing all of your KPIs and knowing the true health of your practice based upon the numbers, but to have a technology that can actually go back and read, the last 18 months to 2 years of all of your previous x-rays and provide you a report of all of the opportunity that lies there. Now, it's not necessarily diagnosing. It's simply saying, based upon the pixels in these areas, in these x-rays, we're taking all of that information, and now we're matching that with what's in the practice management software. And we're saying, all right, here are all the things that AI found. Here's what you've treatment planned, but here is the opportunity that you haven't even talked to your patients about. And again, letting that sink in, to have a report of all of my undiagnosed opportunity. We talk about benchmarks. We talk about, what is our diagnostic percentage in the practice, but to actually have true numbers, to know where all of that low-hanging fruit is, it just opens up a whole new list of capabilities.
I mean, you only know what you know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you only know what you know. And again, I love that that you brought up that point, right? It's, again, if it's making you money, it doesn't really cost you anything. And again, we think about opportunities, and again, not just for the single practice owner, multiple practices, you have multiple associates. Maybe sometimes you have to calibrate everyone. Everyone's a little bit different, right? And a lot of times, if you're not there, you're not looking over their shoulder, but you can see the radiographs and you can see, the things that are missed there. I think that's something powerful as well. Is that something that you have seen for the group practice owners?
Absolutely. In fact, we actually provide a report that kind of gives some benchmarks, not just with the industry, but with all of the providers in the practice, to say, okay, here are, everyone in this group practice, for example, you can line them all up and say, okay, here are the doctors that might be overdiagnosing compared to the other doctors within the organization, and here are the doctors that might be underdiagnosing. And it just allows kind of some insights to say, okay, let's maybe take a look. Is it an opportunity to re-educate? Is it an opportunity to kind of, set the standards within the practice, just to ensure, again, kind of a level playing field?
I'm glad that you brought up the overdiagnosing, because I think a lot of times, and I've seen it on social media, some people are saying, well, I think what Pearl's going to do is cause me to overdiagnose, and I don't want to do that. But you brought up the point that, well, it also allows you to make sure that, that you're diagnosing exactly what is there. And, the great thing about AI is there's no, as of right now, there's no emotions to it, right? It is what it is.
Exactly.
Right? It is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna address the big elephant in the room here. I'm just gonna put you on the spot. So there's a lot of AI companies out there, right? They all do some stuff, and and they're all at the trade shows. You hear about them and whatnot, but there's certain things that Pearl has that they don't have. There's certain, I don't know, kind of legal things. Can you elaborate on those things?
Yeah. So there's two areas I want to touch on. First of all, when March of last year, end of February, beginning of March last year, we were the first AI company that brought FDA cleared disease detection with caries to the industry. And here's the thing, like when COVID hit, I mean, we really took that as an opportunity to focus on getting approvals, not just FDA clearances, but we also have clearance in 120 countries.
Oh,
so
wow.
we are an international company, and so a lot of markets that have shown a lot of interest. So 120 countries that we have clearance in, and then we actually have the largest list of FDA cleared detections with our software. Now, the second thing that I want to touch on is we actually have patents. We actually have all the patents around this. So that's something that, again, is important. We believe Sandbox is big enough for everyone.
Yeah.
But we have patents on all of our technologies.
And it's not like anyone off the street can just get some FDA approval, right? It's not like, hey, let me send in an application with a $50 check and get that, right? I mean, it's
a process.
There's
Glenn.
a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
And I want to highlight that because, number one, there's a process, right? So there's some legwork that you have to do, and it takes time.
Yeah.
And that's super important because we started this whole podcast by saying, seems like an AI company everywhere, right? Everyone's saying AI this, AI that. But the thing is that what separates like what you guys are doing and maybe some of the earlier companies, or maybe some companies who say they're AI, but they're really not AI, is that there's a track record, right? And again, I've known you for a while, Mike, and I know a lot of people who have seen Mike before, working with other companies. He's probably heard him speak and whatnot. Why was it important for you to be a part of Pearl? Because hopefully your bosses are listening, but you're kind of a well-known person, right? And everyone knows you. You have all these connections. But why someone like you, who has a reputation in this industry, why have you just been so all in with Pearl?
So yes, I've been around in the dental space for the last over a decade, 12 years.
In a good way, guys.
Yeah, in a good way. I was early on at Solution Reach. I was early on at Dental Intelligence, and early on at Weave. Great companies. And after when I left Weave, when they went public, I kind of wanted to focus on just consulting with dental technology companies. And here's the thing: is when somebody told me, early on when I started in dentistry, they said once you're in dental, you'll always be in dental. And I thought,
100% true.
Right?
100%.
And I'm like, no, there's no way. But I love it. I love the industry, love the network, love finding ways to bring technology into practices to really just improve the overall efficiency and care of the patients. Because as a dentist, practice owner, you've got so many plates that you're spinning. And so there truly is an opportunity for technology to enhance that. So when I learned about Pearl and saw that this was truly something that I felt would change dentistry from now, forevermore. In fact, I truly believe that AI will be a standard of care in every dental practice in the next 5 years. That it's not just something that will be nice to have. I truly believe that it will be almost mandated.
Yeah.
And here's why. Not to get too personal, and I know I shared this with you before, but my wife, she just went through breast cancer. She's doing great, but when it came to her mammogram, they missed it. They're looking at all these different shades of gray, and they missed it. They straight up missed it. Same thing with the ultrasound. They missed it, and it dawned on me. I'm working at Pearl, and it dawned on me. I'm like, my gosh, of course. I mean, you're looking at all these different, shades and tones of gray, leaving it up to human interpretation. And I'm to the point now, kind of circling back on what we first talked about, which is I will never let my daughters go and get a mammogram anywhere if there is not AI backing it up, because we have that technology available. There's no excuse anymore. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's like someone coming in and you don't do any radiographs.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe back in the day, they would just eyeball it, but now not anymore. So look, you've been in this industry for a while. Dentists, our mentality.
Yeah.
A lot of times dentists I want to see the facts,
Yeah.
right? Everything's evidence-based, right? Some guy a long time ago, GV Black, he did the how to prep teeth, and he did that years ago, and we all do it the same way, right?
Yeah.
So something new, relatively new. I wouldn't say it's new. I've known about Pearl for a while, but something new like that. Dentists are like, okay, I get where you're coming from. I'll give it a shot. We'll see what's up, right?
Yeah.
So for those dentists out there, maybe in our community, that they want to try, but they're like, you know what, Mike seems like a trustworthy guy. I'll give it a shot, but I don't want to get stuck with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to sign up and all of a sudden, I have Pearl for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I can't get out of the contract. It's auto renew, and it auto renews like at 2 a.m, and I can't catch it. Right. All those things. Right. For those doctors, like, okay, I want to give it a shot. I mean, do you guys have any like long-term contracts where you're like locked in? I mean,
no,
I'm not gonna throw any shade by companies he used to work for, but there is one company that did that, and we just went nuts about it. But how, again, for a doctor wants to work, how does it work?
So there's a few things that helping some of these other companies grow in early phases. A few things that I've learned, best practices that we made sure to bring over into Pearl, which is contracts. We never want to lock anyone into a contract. We want to make sure that we earn the business as we go, right? The second thing that's really important is when it comes to customer service, when it comes to training, when it comes to somebody walking you through, the software, we want to make sure that these are people who have worked in a practice. And so our team of customer success and trainers, they have that dental experience, and that's important because with other technology companies, when you're talking with customer service out there, it's like sometimes you kind of think, have you ever worked in a practice? Do you know what I'm talking about? And it's really important. So there's a few best practices there. We don't lock you into a contract. Earn your business as we go, and you're speaking with people who understand the industry, who have been in the trenches and know what you're dealing with.
So that's really important, because with anything that's new, and doctors are always concerned about, okay, well, if I'm in this contract and I hate it, I'll never use it. I'm just looking at that bill every month, and it's going to drive me insane. So now, as far as training and then the onboarding process, that's always been a big point whenever someone's trying to adopt something new. They're like, oh, I went through the training process. It took me 2 months to get through it, to get onboarded, right? And then I had to watch some Loom videos because someone's trying to teach me how to do that. How does that onboarding process work at Pearl? And generally, for the average practice, how long does it take for them to actually start using it?
No, that's a good question. So our software, being unique, one of the things that we do, we have 2 offerings. One that we call Second Opinion, which is just your real-time detections, and then the other one, which takes all of that data, and we marry that with the practice management software to find all of those areas of opportunity. Now, for us to do that, we also have to run an 18-month historical analysis. So that's where we go back and we pull the last 18 months of all your x-rays. We run them through our AI software. And depending on the size of the practice, we might be pulling in anywhere from 60,000 plus x-rays. And so there is time that is taken for us to pull all those x-rays in and to have them analyzed. So we give about 2.5 weeks or so, 3 weeks to pull and analyze all of that data and information and provide that comprehensive report of all of your undiagnosed opportunity. Once that's ready,
the second opinion, I mean, you use it pretty much right away,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Second opinion, we actually go back 12 months with second opinion, and here's why.
Oh, okay.
When you have patients that are coming back into the practice who maybe they were in 6 months or even a year ago, we want to make sure that when they come back in to get their new set of x-rays, that you have their last set of x-rays that's already been analyzed, and you can kind of pull them up and compare with the last time that they were in. And
you can kind of get ready for them when they come in.
Absolutely. And we give,
I love that.
It really helps the patients, because one of the things that we do is we actually have AI that analyzes the tooth structure and color codes everything. So when we're talking about caries and decay in the tooth, now for the first time, the patient can actually see what we're talking about. They can see the exact lines and definitions, and we give the exact breakdowns to say, 14% of the decay is in the dentin, and 12% in the cementum, and et cetera. So they can not only see it, they've got the numbers to quantify that, but they can see the outline and they understand it. And this is so important because it allows us as practice owners, healthcare providers, to just present the data and not pick and choose what we're going to present because we don't want to come across like we're overdiagnosing, but to be able to present that data there. So
I think as AI becomes more prevalent in our society, I think people understand how it works. And I think patients, if anything, it actually can help the doctor as well, right? Like, hey, you got this guy, I've never had a cavity before. Oh, we're very thorough about this. We did the clinical exam. We looked at it graphically. We also we literally triple check by having the AI as well. And I think that there's something to be said about that because, people respect how accurate it is. Okay, so Mike, I'm gonna put you on the spot again.
Again.
Okay. Again. I'm gonna put you on the spot again. And I want to ask you this. So as far as Pearl right now, obviously you guys are in a lot of single practices and whatnot. As far as like education and whatnot, are you guys in any of the dental schools or anything like that? Is there any plans for that?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of conversations with
and I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah, so not to name any, but a lot of conversations with some dental schools and universities because, again, having a tool that can help train and teach, and this is also important for new associates, working in a practice where everyone diagnoses a little bit differently. Everyone sees things a little bit differently, and that's okay. Like dentistry is an art, and that's expected, but to be able to kind of help standardize in the practice, new associates, dental students, to be able to see, have them look at it and then see what the AI is showing and recommending is really impactful. So we have had a lot of conversations with some that,
Well, and I bring that up because a lot of times, it's one thing to get the individual practices going, right? It's another thing to get the DSOs that see the value in it.
Right.
It's another thing when you actually get the schools in because that's actually where everyone is getting trained. And again, if it's trending towards that, then if you're a dentist watching right now and it's trending towards going into the school, then what are you guys waiting for? That your associates, your new associates that are coming out, they're already going to know more than you. So you should be thinking about that as well. Okay, so we have an extra special guest. I mean, it's special enough to have you here, but we have actually a special guest. We're actually going to bring him on right now. All right, so we have John, kind of one of the main guys in the beginning, but I would say, and what Mike would say is literally the man behind the scenes that makes everything at Pearl happens. John, welcome to the podcast. You are no longer the man behind the scenes because now everybody in Nifty Thrifty are going to know who you are. So I have to ask you right now, when you became a part of Pearl way in the beginning and Kyle and Ophir kind of pitched this idea to you, what was your first thoughts? Did you think like these are like two madmen, or did you like, that's crazy enough that I want to be a part of it?
To be really honest, it was, I looked at it and I thought this is a sea change in dentistry. I mean,
Wow.
I've been in the industry for 20 years. My dad was in the industry. My whole family's in the industry in different ways. When I got the first look at this, I thought everything's going to change. And I had no idea. I had no idea how much it was going to change at that time. If you look at our industry, if you look at the last 20 years in our industry, you have digital dentistry that's come on. If you look at scanners, if you look at digital x-rays, things like that, they're just creating all of this data. And if you look at your PMS, there's all this transactional data in your PMS, but it's really not at the service of anything, really. With AI, you have the ability to unlock all of that for value at scale. And when I saw that and started to take this in, I thought, okay, this is going to unlock a lot of potential in this industry. So I mean, the funny story is like, I was like doing anything I could to get involved.
Wow.
I was like, hey, look at this marketing plan over here. Isn't this cool? Like, wouldn't you want me to consult or whatever? And finally, he was just like, why don't we just hire you? And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm in. I really believe in the technology, and I'm just stoked on where it's going.
Well, and again, I was excited to bring you on because you were there in the beginning, but also you're really a big part of making sure that get all the clearances and all the patents and all the different countries there. Let me ask you this: why is that so important? I mean, and again, it's important, obviously, that it's recognized by all these countries. But when a doctor's looking at Pearl and there's all these other AI companies, and I talked to Mike earlier. There seems like there's an AI company, a new one all the time. Why is it so important, though, for the dentist to understand that not only in the United States, but in how many countries is...
We're performing in 120 countries
120.
From a regulatory point of view.
So I want you to let the viewers and the listeners know, why is that important? Why is that important to them? Why you should, really understand why that's important. 120.
So what's really important about it is that it's a medical device.
Yeah.
So this is something that's going in and looking at digital X-rays. You're dealing with a lot of PHI in all of this. So it's very important that it's approved from a regulatory point of view. For instance, with the FDA, we had to prove that the dentist plus the AI was more accurate, more performant on digital X-rays.
Wow.
It's a big threshold really to achieve. So we had to do that there. If you look at this from a global perspective, when you sit down with a dentist in any country, the first thing they ask is, have you passed our regulatory approval body? I mean,
really?
It's amazing how much they know about it, and it's amazing how often I get that question asked. So really, it's for the protection of the dentist and also the patient that we have these regulatory approvals. Further, they're very expensive and time-consuming. So we're talking for FDA, we're talking millions of dollars.
Really?
We're talking years.
Yeah, I was about to ask you how long the process is.
I mean, it could be.
And you guys have not just one FDA approval.
Right.
You have multiple. And again, I think there's something to be said. So our dentists, naturally, they want to see a track record. They want to see, okay, has it been proven? And again, the track record here is you guys put in the time, put in the capital. Let's be honest here. It's not free to go through that, right? But you not only had to do it here in our home country, but you had to do it in multiple countries and in other countries there. And so I think, again, that kind of separates you guys there. Let me ask you, is that what you're kind of most proud of? At this point, I mean, there's a lot of things to be proud of, but wouldn't you say that is something that you're kind of, as someone who's doing there, kind of most proud of, that you took the hard questions, right? Yeah. You took the hard questions, and you guys came back, and you were able to get the acceptance on the. Wouldn't you? Was that?
Honestly, I'm proud of the people behind it.
Oh.
I mean, by that, what I mean is I had zero to do with the approvals. I was like the business guy, so I'll be honest.
You weren't there doing the coding and stuff like that.
No. But that process is. I found it really interesting because if you look at our CTO Cameron, he really helmed that from a technical point of view. Our CEO Ophir was involved in it every step of the way. We have a regulatory person. He's our chief regulatory officer. And then you have a whole host of consultants and so forth that work in it. So I'm most proud of the late nights they put in and the things that they did to get it. And then if you look at something like MDR, which is the latest regulatory approval for the EU, that's massively stringent. It's very difficult. In fact, we deal with some technology companies over there from an integration point of view that don't have that yet. And these are like big names, right?
Wow.
So sometimes we have to kind of bring them along to get approved. But we just kind of ended up in this place where we thought that international was an important part of our business, and we got those secured, and it enabled us to get into these markets really early. And that's a lot of what I do right now. So I'm very proud of the people who did that and gave me the opportunity to be out there doing what I do.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, again, the product is one thing. The people in the company is another thing too. And again, that's such a huge feat. But the fact that you, as one of the leaders over there, you automatically gave credit to your team, We all understand how important our team is in our practice. You know, we always know that good practice owners, they always hype up the team. So I love that you did that. Now, I'm going to ask you, and this won't get you in too much trouble, but I have to ask, you went through all these approvals as a company, through all these countries. Which country gave you the hard, like, who had the most stringent requirements? I'm just curious.
Oh, absolutely. The MDR for EU.
Really?
It's like, it's intense.
You know, people who live in the States, they always think like, hey, everything's better here, everything's harder here, all those things. Like you make it here, you got to make it. And for the most part, that's true.
They haven't been through a GDPR audit.
Yeah. So again, I want to. So you would say, and you guys, and I'm shocked that you said that some of these bigger companies have not got approval.
It was interesting. So the MDR approval initially, and this was sort of pre-COVID, had to be done by a certain point, and so few people were able to get through that thicket of regulatory that they extended it. So now it's like, I can't remember what it is, it's like maybe 2025 you have to have it by. But we had already started, and we had CE approval prior to that. So we kind of got in. It was we were lucky to do that. But you know, with Europe, it's also, it's not just your MDR approval as a medical device, but you have to be GDPR compliant. And some people know what that is, some people don't. But basically, in Europe, you have to have the right to be forgotten, which means that any of the data that we ingest, we have, if a patient walks in and says, you need to delete that forever, we have to prove to them that we can delete it.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things that go into that. And then also you have to have a server infrastructure within the EU. So we had to replicate everything we had in the cloud in the US into the EU.
You can't just
you
work
can't
at it.
Yeah, because they're like, yeah, we're just sending this to, the U.S. Don't worry about it. It's all your credit card data. We're good, man. We got some servers in Russia. Don't worry about that. But no. So you have to really prove that. So we have an entire server infrastructure in Ireland that serves the entire EU.
Wow.
So and that's a big deal. So it's it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of expertise to get to this point.
Well, I mean, and again, it just shows the commitment that you guys aren't like a company that's just a fly-by-night, like, hey, see you later, thanks for signing up, we're out of here.
We have all your data.
Yeah, you guys are in for a long term. So, before we tie things up, and this is just amazing that we got you on here, and now you're no longer the man behind the scenes, right? Everyone knows. I do have to ask you this. I do have to kind of needle you. I'm going to needle you for two things, but one thing is that, look, you guys have like amazing platform. It's going to change the way dentistry is. Can you give us a sneak peek of anything new that might be going down the pipeline, or is it one of those things like can't tell you just yet? But can you give me a hint? Is there something? Because I know how I've met the entire team here. I know how you guys are always looking to push the envelope. You're always looking for different angles. Is there something that you can share with us that's coming up? Anything?
I mean, some of the angles are fairly obvious from our point of view, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what we do. One of the things we're trying to make easier for the practitioner's insurance, things like that.
That's huge.
That sort of thing. So watch that space. Our belief on that though is maybe a little different than some of the other people in the space.
Sure.
I think that there's always this antagonism between insurance companies and dentists.
Yeah.
And when we listen to dentists and we've talked to dentists and we know people like you and groups like this, we want to be on the side of the dentist. So whatever we're really looking to do needs to be on the side of empowering the dentist. Yeah. Insurance companies serve a purpose, certainly. But if you think about an insurance company, their whole goal is to just pay less out. And that's going to be an antagonism with the dentist always. So how do you figure that out? And then also I would say, if you look at the treatment planning process, it's fairly broken in some ways.
Yeah.
And I think with AI, with a lot of other things, there's a dynamism to it right now. There's things that are being built, and there's opportunities there. So some interesting stuff going on. Yeah.
So insurance, making things. I mean, I'm all for that, making working with insurance a lot easier. And then, of course, what you were just saying there, just making the overall workflow of just treatment planning and case acceptance and case presentation, making it a lot easier. I'm all for that as well. Okay, so the last thing is look, you're on the Nifty Thrifty Dentist podcast, and Mike was like, I want to have him talk about this. So what is the deal that our listeners and our viewers can take advantage of right now?
Yeah, so at the show, we're giving half off our setup fee.
Sweet.
It's amazing. So what that means is that you're going to get, with Second Opinion, you're going to get a year of historical analysis at half the price. And then also with Practice Intelligence, our more business intelligence tool, you'll get 18 months of historical analysis with that. So it's actually a great deal.
And you know what? And you can't make any guarantees, but I feel like you can give somewhat of a guarantee. For a practice that decides to take advantage of this deal, and you go back and you look at all that data, right? Arming yourself with that data so that when that same patient comes in later, you can present them whatever treatment you missed. How much money do you think that a practice could possibly get, again?
So a couple ways to measure that.
Yeah.
With practice intelligence, we've never encountered a practice that doesn't have at least $1 million in unmet treatment that we identify. And that's kind of the $1 million filing cabinet and all that stuff. And a lot of people will say that. You can do a lot of things to segment, and say, oh, well, I have a lot of, but what we actually do is we weaponize that in our schedule feature. So it's basically a paint by numbers for the practitioner in the office to unlock that revenue. It's unique. I've done this for 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. So there's that metric. Then if you look at like Second Opinion, our real-time service, we're increasing case acceptance by 38%.
Yeah.
So you can see that as a real financial lift. And, we do also have a very unique segmentation piece where you can see all of the tooth parts and you can educate your patient in the chair.
I mean, it sounds like if you're using Pearl the way you're supposed to, it should pay for itself.
And over.
Yeah. I love it. John, thank you so much for being on. Thanks for being a good sport.
Really
Guys,
appreciate it.
We'll get all that info. We'll get the nifty deal for Pearl. And again, if you're using it the right way, it shouldn't cost you anything. Honestly, the nifty deal is going to be for free as long as you follow everything. But like John said and what Mike said, no, it actually should help your practice be a little bit more productive. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in.